It's been a very intense couple of weeks, and what we were able to do as a staff was we wanted to keep this class together, and it was an outstanding class. And then we were able to add a few players ourselves by our guys going out. But it was key for us. It was for our coaches, our coaching staff, to get within this state and develop a relationship not only with the new recruits that we were signing, but also with the high school coaches here. And I have a list here, and I like to go down this list and just talk about some of these players and then just give you an opportunity to just hear. Alex Anderson was an offensive lineman from New Orleans. We were able to get on him late, and he was an early enrollee for us. And the thing about him is just coming out of high school to college is a big adjustment, especially when you're a big guy. And then the thing he's going to be able to do is get in the weight room and just get into our off-season program. Andrew Beck is a linebacker from Tampa Plant. I can remember when I was at Louisville, we had a chance to evaluate him. Beck's going to be an outstanding player. And also Beck was an early enrollee. Roderick Bernard is a running back, wide receiver, just one of those athletic guys out of Sharpstown down in Houston, an outstanding player. John Bonning, defensive back from Lamar. I think with Bonning, we had to recruit his dad more than him. My man just loved to talk. He had a whole lot of conversation for us. Caroline is a running back out of Houston, Eisenhower. Amazing thing about going into that school, when I went into the school, the coach said, "Hey, there's someone here that'd like to meet you." And I said, "Well, who will that be?" And he said, "Well, he told me not to give you his name." And so I go walking down the hall and I see this player, and he was a linebacker for me, played at Notre Dame, named Nix. And we just started laughing and telling stories. And I didn't even know he was a coach because we recruited him out of Kilgore, and now he's coaching there at Eisenhower. Terrell Cooney's the offensive lineman from Jasper. And the thing about it, we needed to get linemen in this class, and now to get a second lineman with Cooney. Puna Ford, I know everybody heard his commitment. He was able to go up to Charlotte to get on ESPN to make the big commitment. And the thing about Puna is a defensive tackle, big guy with some size there. You're always looking for size. Monty Foreman, wide receiver from Texas City, with his brother there, Deontay Foreman, two athletic, two skilled players. Actually, Deontay, we got an athlete by his name. It should be by Marnie's because Deontay's bigger than he is, look like a linebacker, but he's going to play running back for us. Freeman was able to go into Bowie. The thing about with Freeman, and I always laugh because whenever I go up to Dallas with Bruce Chambers, Bruce did an outstanding job, and the thing he did, he developed a great relationship with Freeman, but his big safety is a big safety for us. Garrett Gray's a wide receiver from Marble Falls, and the thing about Garrett is also a big body, can body you up, can play an inside or outside, has a very good speed. Kind of reminds me of a player that I had out of Florida, and I told him that when I was talking to Garrett, I said, I can remember going to Riley Cooper's house, and I said, he had the size that you have right now. Jason Hall, a defensive back from Grand Prairie, really an outstanding size, good athlete. Hampton, linebacker out of Dallas Carter, a lot of speed. And they look at Hampton is one of those backers that we're going to have to cover up and let him run. Gerard Hurd is a quarterback that won back-to-back state championships. And the good thing about Hurd is that he's an athlete. And the thing he can do, he can also throw the football, but he can also beat you with his legs. Lorenzo Joe, wide receiver out of Cooper, a good size. All our wide receivers have a really good size to them. And the thing about it is when you get them in the weight room, they'll just get bigger and just build more bulk on them. Leonard, wide receiver out of Longview, had a chance to watch him in the gym, 6'4", very athletic and just long, has a really good length. Chris Nelson, defensive tackle out of Lakeland. The thing about with Chris is that Lakeland is a city that I've always recruited. I can remember recruiting that city at the University of Florida, signed 7 players out there one year. Jake McMillan, defensive end out of Abilene, really great family, really outstanding coach. I can remember I made that trip out there. It was really cold that day, and it just felt like the wind was just going to blow you away. But I was teasing him. I said, Jake, I got to hurry up and get inside because it was a really a warm, not a warm day, but a cold day. Derek Roberson, the thing about Derek is you look at him with his size, he's going to be able to put on weight, very athletic and good speed, and he's going to be able to just pressure your quarterback for you. Jermaine Roberts out of St. Augustine, outstanding player, not very tall, but the thing about it, he can run. and very athletic. Elijah Rodriguez was another offensive lineman that we got on late. Coach Wickline was able to find him late. Him and Coach Kanan did a good job, brought him in here the last weekend, was able to make the turn and get another offensive lineman in the group. A Charter running back out of Newton, Texas, an outstanding athlete, and then Blake was a tight end that we were able to go pluck out of the junior college. But overall, an outstanding class, and just that, like I said, what we wanted to do was just keep this class together and to let our players and let our coaches just get out and just develop relationships within this state. We know this, we can do a lot better, and we will do a lot better recruiting, knowing that we have to control this state and get our work done.
Question: Was it hard to keep this group together? You find when you were talking to them that you really had to resell?
Well, it's not so reselling University of Texas, but you have to resell ourselves because it's all about relationships. And they didn't really know us. We were able to, I think we lost like 2 of them, but I don't know how many we really lost. But I just know this, that when a new staff come in, then the recruit have to be comfortable with you. And that's why it was so critical for us to go in and just see every recruit that we did sign here and just take in the recruiting coach, the position coach, and myself.
Defensive tackles you did lose, Charlie. Was there a common thread with the ones that decommitted there?
No, but what I was able to do is you wouldn't got Puna, you wouldn't got Chris Nelson, so you lost 2, and then you were able to go pick up 2. So you were able to balance that back.
How critical was that to get those 2 guys today?
Oh, you needed those 2 guys because you lost 2 D tackles, and there was an area that you're always looking for big guys. And I always say this: if you're going to have a good football team, the strength of your team is going to be up front. And it's going to be built around your offensive and defensive line.
Charlie, all things considered, how would you rate this class and the effort to bring these guys in with everything, all the obstacles you had to deal with?
Well, when you think back when I made this statement, how just intense this couple of weeks have been, we weren't able to go on the road till January the 16th. And just with our staff, and I say this, they went right to work. And even then, I don't even know if I had them all hired at that time, but just with them just going to work and just making sure that we kept everything in place. Now, we lost some guys, but we just wanted to make sure we kept them in place and just to build the relationships, what I said earlier. Because now that when you're out and you're trying to re-recruit is what we're trying to do, just re-recruit and sell ourselves.
Along those lines, did you feel like you got a fair shot and all the kids who decommitted? Did you get a fair shot to sell yourself? Did they give you a fair shot?
Well, you know what, I sometimes think about this, and you like to see this happen within. I'm not working for the NCAA, but I like to say this: that even like in a situation like this, if a coach leaves in the middle of recruiting, or when guys have made a visit and then they have another visit left because they get 5 and they have another visit left, they should be able to come back and use one of those 5s to come back and visit with the staff, because now they can get back on campus, they can really find out who you are, and you can really resell them again and give them a chance. Because now if they kind of visit in November, December, and then everyone else starts recruiting them, then they kind of remember the last person that they spoke with, and that happens a lot. And then we weren't able to do it. We weren't able to get them back. So we had to go and resell ourselves and go to their home and sit down with them and give them whatever they had, 45 minutes to an hour. You sit there trying to convince them and even convince our high school coach of who you really are and what you're all about.
You talked a couple of times controlling the state. I think the top 3 guys by some services in the state are going to the SEC now. Is it tougher now to control the state than it used to be? And where do you think University of Texas is in its quest to control the state?
Well, we're still the University of Texas. We will always be the flagship university of this state, and it's hard to try to keep guys in, but you have to go recruit them and not be afraid, and you got to go battle those Southeastern Conference teams, whomever they may be. But that's going to happen, and it's going to be some people coming into the state because we can go outside. Also, we can go outside if we really need to and go take 1 or 2. But someone's always looking to say, hey, we just go in and just get 1 person, we'll be good. But it's enough players here, and that's what we got to realize. It's enough players here because even though, you go recruit them, you still have to develop them. And that's what's key, making sure that you can go develop and turn a player into a really good player.
You talked about how you don't get into the stars and all the ratings. What is the type of guy you look for? Is there a word or 2 that describes kind of this group?
Well, I don't know if there's a word to describe this group, but you're always looking for character because you always want to start off with good character, and then you look for size and speed. And it is one thing the speed does, even if it's a big guy, a little guy, you know, on this, if you have speed, then you're going to able to build off of that speed and make sure that a guy can develop. And then can he match and put on more weight? Or you're looking to put on weight or you're looking to take off weight? But a football player is a football player, and there's enough players around. So now it's all about once you get them, can you develop? It's the key is can you develop the player? And you look at it, and I always do this. I always go back and I look at all those top classes, and I always say, where are those guys now? Some of them have made it, and some of them went on to the NFL, but a lot of them has fallen off, and they just didn't develop.
Charlie, Steve Patterson, you honored the scholarship commitments that background had made. Did you feel your hands were tied? Do all 23 fit your style and what you look for?
No, I didn't feel like my hands were tied at all because I know this. The coach has built a great program here, and he's built it the right way. So the players that had committed to him, I know that they were outstanding players, and not only that, but just outstanding people, and that's what you look for. But I didn't feel like my hands were tied at all because I just know this, that we were able to also go in and go recruit some ourselves. And it's so hard because when you make the coaching change, you know, you're trying to get back in the mix with some of the players that have already committed somewhere else, and they really don't know who you are. So it's best that you hold on to what you got instead of trying to go look somewhere else.
Are you a big believer in early commitments? Would you like to have 15 by July or?
Well, it's just going to make the job of coaches harder because right now they don't have enough time anyway. So now you start going early commitments. Now that time is really shrunk for them. And you like to give the coaches a chance to just relax themselves. But now when you start talking early commitments, when does the recruiting end?
Charlie, on the flip side of having guys there that you had to retain or whatever, you had Gerard Hurd in this class. Can you talk about what you saw from him as a quarterback, and was that a huge benefit to have a guy like that sort of already sitting there in the wings?
Oh, it's always great because you talk about that quarterback position, and he's always going to be one of the leaders of your team. But as an outstanding athlete, and like I said, not only can he beat you with his feet, but he can throw the football. And then just a quality person, because you always talk about just the character of the young man. And he comes from a great family, great mom and dad. But that's what you want, and that's what you look for in your program.
Charlie, of these 23, how many legitimately could play next year?
Oh, that's a tough one there, because what you like, and this would I always say to the guys I have right now. I say if a freshman come in and play in front of you, it's your own fault. Because right now you've been in the program, you know what the program's all about. They have to come in, they have to learn the program, but for little guys, it isn't that hard. Skill guys, not so much little, but skill. It isn't that hard because the skill guy, you know, if you can run, you can run. If you can cover, you can cover. You can catch the ball, you can catch the ball. But it's the big guys because now you're looking at a guy who comes in as a freshman. And if you had guys who've been in your program 4 and 5 years, now here he is he'll never match up with him just strength-wise. And even with a guy who's played, he'll never understand the games because he has to come in and just learn the whole game.
Charlie, how's the Kevin Shorter situation been explained to you, and do you think his playing career is over, or what do you think on that?
Well, what we're going to do, I think, when he gets here with Kevin, the doctors are going to reevaluate him, and then we will look. You know what? I'm gonna go just what our doctors say.
Charlie, what's the biggest point of emphasis for you as bringing in these freshmen? What points will you try to get across to them between now and the spring?
Well, with the freshmen that's in the program or the
Enrollees, yeah.
I'm sorry, the early enrollees. Well, they have been placed in with our upperclassmen, so they're going to hear the same message that they hear. And the message is that, you know, what we're trying to do is just build a football team now. And we have a chance to evaluate our team. And now with the coaches back off the road from recruiting, you know, they'll be able to sit down just position by position, and the guys will be able to have just individual meetings with the players and just try to build a relationship and just find out who they are and what they're all about.
Charlie, when you took the job, you had one offensive line commit. Was it a point of emphasis, hey, we've got to go find a couple more, or did those guys just kind of come up and you thought, hey, these are the
No, our recruiting office did a great job of just going in and just making sure that we go find some more. Because, like you said, you had one committed, and you always, when you're looking at a recruiting class, you like to get anywhere from 6 to 8 linemen, because you know that there's always going to be a turnover, and then you can continue to build, and you like to say, hey, let's go get 4 offense, 4 defensive linemen, and let's build around those guys, because you want to build around big guys. And but it was critical for us to go get some more linemen.
When you look at the board in terms of depth across the board, between what you have now and what this is, are there still areas that jump off to you like, hey, we need to get more of this?
Well, you're always figuring you need to go get offensive linemen. And what we do, we go by a number system. And I think that with the offensive linemen, you always like to have anywhere from 15 to 16 on scholarship. And then, with quarterbacks, you like to have anywhere from 4 to 5. I think right now, with Gerard coming in, we only have 3 on scholarship. But we have to look at our numbers and just see exactly where we are and just where our point of emphasis have to be. Because even with the defensive line, I know we're kind of stacked inside. Now we need some guys on the outside. When you talk about the big guys, outside rush guys, you're feeling pretty good about your DBs, and the skill guys you feel pretty good about, because the defensive back can always go play wide receiver, or wide receiver can go make the trip to defensive back. But some of those positions, that you need a specific player for, and you got to make sure that you go get them.
Do you feel like you know what the 15 class looks like already and what you need, or is that still in the formative stage?
Well, you're always trying to form the stages, but I would say this, but that if you have 25 scholarships, you like to say, hey, who are the top 10 players? Let's go get the top 10, and then that next 10 are the guys that kind of just fit your needs, where you got to build around. Because you go get the second 10, then you're going to build around those, and then you take the other 5 and you kind of wait and say, hey, listen, there may be a late bloomer out there. There's going to be someone who is sitting out there on the wings, is not going to make an early decision, and let's make sure that we save a scholarship there.
Charlie, you said you filled a couple of the voids, but fans that might be concerned about the decommitments, the message that sends, what would you tell them that are concerned?
Well, you can't be concerned about, you can't worry about the ones you didn't get. You better worry about the ones you do have, because those are the ones that'll get you beat. But, with the ones that decommitted, it's, if they decided that the other place is best for them, it's not much you can say, because you recruited them and it just didn't happen.
Charlie, you mentioned Rod Bernard as a running back / wide receiver. Is he one of those kids that you were talking about with versatility that you can move around and do different things with his speed and athleticism?
Oh, you can, because he's a skilled player. So if you need him on defense to go cover, I think he's a good enough athlete where he can cover. And then, if you need him to run the ball, he's fast enough and he's quick enough and has enough size and speed to go run it.
Charlie, some guys were taking visits late. I guess Gerard came down on his own last weekend and helped to, recruit himself, I guess, with some of these guys. Can you just talk about his role in this class and his role as a recruiter?
Well, Gerard's an outstanding player, and once he made a commitment, he stuck to it. And not only Gerard, but we had a number of players that come down last weekend, and they were able to see a really good basketball game. But we just wanted, what we tried to do as a staff, to make sure that the guys that we had committed, to bring them in the last weekend, so that also those guys that didn't get a chance to meet our staff, they could meet our staff, because when you went to go see them, you only were able to take the position coach and the recruiting coach. So you get those players on campus, and now they have a chance to meet everyone on staff.
Now that signing day is over, do you feel you've been hired, you had that dead period, you got signing day out of the way, do you feel like now you can kind of focus on coaching and you can start settling in more?
Well, what you like to do now that signing day is over, it's about now we have to know who our football team is, and we have to learn our football team, because we haven't been able to be around them, because the last 2 weeks you've just been going. So now that when we get back into football, and just focusing on just our players and making sure that they know who we are, because everything's about relationship. We need to build a relationship with this football team and get around our players and give them a chance to get around us, and you get a chance to watch them work. But it's going to be good, because I think we have an outstanding group of players there, and guys that are doing it right now and doing everything we ask them to do.
Charlie, you mentioned Roberson's a guy who can put on weight, but with defensive end being as thin as it is on this team now, can he play right away, or would you rather him redshirt a year?
Well, you don't ever I don't ever talk about redshirt until a player. If he redshirts, it's totally up to him, where he wasn't ready. But if he's good enough and he's ready to go play, then he'll get an opportunity.
Coach, 6 players from out of state seems like a lot for this program. How important was it for you guys to bring the ones you had already recruited during your time?
Well, 6 does seem like a lot, but when you lose players, then you have to find a way to make sure you go recruit and make sure you can make up for it. And that's why we were able to go get the Punas and go get Chris Nelson, and then Anderson from OP Walker was sitting there late for us. But You just have to make sure that you go get your needs and where that may be, and if it has to be out of state, then that's where it was. But we were looking to always control the state and stay within the state.
Philosophically, Charlie, are you opposed to playing freshmen? Do you feel like freshmen kind of get you beat more than often than not, or do you have a philosophy on that?
Well, if a freshman get me beat, I think we did a poor job of coaching that cat now. But no, no. I always say this: if a freshman comes in and play, I'm not totally against him playing. Because if you look at it now, if a freshman's good enough, and if you redshirt him in 3 years, he'll be going anyway. Because if he's good enough, you just you allow those guys to grow up, and you let them mature, and you let them get around your team. And if they're good enough to play, then we're not going to hold them back. We're not going to be one of those staffs that say, "Hey, he's not ready." When we know he's ready, he'll get an opportunity.
Charlie, did it require some late night film sessions to get familiar with some of these kids, or how did you kind of get comfortable with who you were inheriting?
No, what we did was when we got here, our recruiting staff, so we were able to just meet every day and just go and look at them, and not every day because we were out, but on the weekends we were able to get a really good look at them, and just knowing that when we walked in, at least you were familiar with them, and you could talk about, hey, I saw that run, or I saw you make the hit here, but it does. You have to get familiar with who you're talking to so that when you walk in, you're not walking in blinded.
If you watch
You
tape of those
touched on
games,
this a couple times, but just about University of Texas and being a flagship school. Is it a different feeling for you than going into Louisville trying to sell Louisville versus Alabama? Whereas now you're walking in, you feel like, hey, we're Texas, and you feel like the staff carries themselves that way?
Oh, well, yeah, because they know exactly where they are. But it's University of Texas, so unless you're going to get in every door that you need to get into. Now it's all about us selling the university and selling this town and just selling ourselves in the program.
Charlie, have you watched tapes of all 13 games?
13 of last year, yes, I have watched for sure on defense. I've not watched them all on offense.
Have you got any early returns from your strength coach on how the guys are taking the transition?
No, I think they're taking it pretty good because the time that I've been able to be around them, they really enjoy it. And any time a guy's able to change his body, he really is going to enjoy it. So I think that's what's coming. They're changing their bodies and they're enjoying the work and they're doing everything we ask them to do right now, as far as on the field as well as off the field. They're in class, they're going to class, so they're doing little things. Everything that we've asked of them, they have done it so far.
Charlie,
You recruited Kuna Ford and Chris Nelson when you were at Louisville. What did you like about those guys so early on in the process?
Well, you look at big guys, and you're always looking to recruit big guys and guys that were really athletic and get off blocks and they could run. And now you're just going to build them up more, and they're going to just become, you hope they continue to get stronger, they get faster, and just use their athletic ability. But when you're looking at those type of players, it's just so hard to find. It's hard to find defensive linemen. And when you have a chance to go grab a couple, you have to get them within your program.
are there any position moves with the roster you inherited that you're already looking at?
No, I haven't had much time to just really study our roster and see, if a guy needs to make a change. Because what do you like to do before you ever do that? You like to get them out there and even we watch them run around and get them to spring practice and just see exactly, who's going to be given that opportunity to move. Because a lot of times guys don't like to move, so you got to somehow convince them. But you like to convince them after you've seen them instead of saying, hey, you need to go move right now. And he's going to look at you and say, Coach, if you see me playing, like, no. But you like to see that. You like to see them play first before you ask them to move or move around.
Charlie, going back to that defensive film, what did you see out of those 13 games?
Well, it's not fair for me to sit up here because the only thing I was doing is just looking at personnel. I wasn't looking at, the schemes and that.
Like, who are
But,
these guys?
yeah, I was just trying to figure out, like, who is this guy? Who was that? What position at? Is he still here? Did he graduate? Is he still on the team? And you just, more than anything, you just want to just see the players and just, from game by game, just watch how they played and just who they are and what you're looking for just defensively. Can we play the scheme that we have? Will they match up and they can fit the scheme that we have with what's on the field?
Charlie, have you had a chance to talk to David Asher, Tyrone Swoops, and what demands do you have for them in terms of leading in this offseason?
Well, the quarterback position is always it's a position of leadership for you, and it's a position that gets a lot of credit. And then it is one of those positions that when things don't go well, that they are the ones that it falls on their shoulder. and they have to be leaders. And because if you think about it, who touches the ball more than a quarterback? And I think that Ash and Swoops, I think both of them understand that. You know, they've been coached and they understand that what is expected of them.
You mentioned that you were a little concerned about the number of scholarship QBs. Would you look to bring in another quarterback?
Well, if there's one out there available, but what you want to do is, I know we only have 3, and you'd like to get another one because you're sitting there. If something was to happen, God forbid it, but you like to get another quarterback.
Got any guys going out for track this spring, Coach?
Well, some guys out there, I don't know how well they can run, but they say they can run. So I let them go out there and try. But if they're going to finish last, they won't be out there running. They can come out. They can come out for football now. But no, I think I have like 3 or 4 out there running.
Do you love,
Time for 2 last questions, guys.
do you love recruiting?
I love recruiting. Well, you know the reason why, and it's all that you get a chance to not only sell your program and sell this university, but you get a chance to build a relationship, and you just go out and you meet more people, and that's the fun part about recruiting, because you know the players are going to be who they are, and then you just try to figure out what they're all about. And just what their goals are, and what you ask them, say, well, really, what do you want to do with your life? What are you trying to accomplish? But that's the good thing about recruiting. I mean, and I don't mind doing it. I do. I love recruiting.
Charlie, how do you feel your staff members, guys like Chris Vaughn, that don't necessarily have ties to Texas, how do you feel they acclimated themselves in the couple weeks they were able to do that?
Well, the thing about it, and when you think about just recruiting, if you can talk a little, and Chris Vaughn can talk, and if you can talk a little, then I think that you can then go into a school and recruit. And because it's all about you selling, not you're going to sell this university, you got to sell yourself also. And if you can build that relationship with the high school coaches, you know, they're going to be more than willing to work with us because of who we are. And what we was just talking about, just the University of Texas, we are the University of Texas, so, and this is the state of Texas, so when we walk in, you know, there's going to be, the door is going to be open for us.
Do you feel like you know where you want guys in terms of you want this guy cover Dallas, this guy in Houston? Do you have a feel for that yet, or do you want to get into the spring and kind of decide that a little bit more?
No, we won't get another spring, and when we'll start talking about that next week, just where we're going to place guys in the different areas within the state, and just find out, and then where they most comfortable at themselves.